Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson. Here on the Hump Day edition of the Yard. Hope things are going well with you. Hope you're having a good week. It's a busy week, man. It really is. You know, we had our first spring football practice yesterday, which reminds me, if you haven't done so, go ahead and make your plans to be with us for Super Bulldog Weekend. We're going to play the spring football game Saturday, April 20th. Kickoff is 1 p.m. 1 p.m. And, of course, we'll have a good baseball weekend. Be a sports-filled weekend for Bulldogs. We love it when you come home, man. We do. We enjoy it. We don't mind that extra traffic. It's good for our Starkville vendors, but also good for you. It's just good for the fan base for us to all get together, kind of celebrate our Mississippi State fandom. We also had a baseball game last night. A little scary for a little while, but Bulldogs took care of business. We'll break that down. We'll look ahead to Texas A&M and then tomorrow. NCAA tournament action for Mississippi State. Got a little bit of a scheduling conflict. It's going to be interesting, right? We've got basketball and we've got Coach Jeff Lebby right around the same time. So we're going to have to kind of be smart about that. But, of course, Justin Frommer is out there for us, providing coverage, doing a great job this week. Had our 5 questions kind of across enemy lines deal with the Michigan State beat writer. You can check that out at genespage.com for free. How about that? For free. I'd like to thank and welcome all of our new subscribers to Gene's Page 2. We just wrapped up another successful promo. Appreciate everybody that came and joined or rejoined our site. But, good times ahead. And, of course, tomorrow night, women's basketball action in the WBIT as the ladies take on Georgia Tech. So we got a lot to talk about today on the show. Hope that you're prepared. Got a great top 10 list. We had a submission from a listener, longtime fan of mine, and I'm a big fan of theirs. I won't divulge their identity, but they had a special request. Matter of fact, I'm going to use their top 10 because I'm familiar with this artist. It's not an 80s hair band, but I am familiar with this artist. And one of the biggest stars right now in Americana music. They sent their submission. I liked it as it was. We're going to run with their list. How about that? So great show today. Look forward to you being with us for a little while. And speaking of being with us, thanks to everybody that's come out to True Rest. Man, it's been a great first month for us. And really, to be honest with you, it's exceeded our expectations. And, we've got clients who've turned into Raven fans and got some local, cosmetologists that have become such frequent users of our float therapy spa here in Starkville that they're telling all their clients. So we're getting a lot of recommendations from that. And listen, if you've got chronic pain, if you've got anxiety and stress in your life, and we all do, this could benefit you. It could. I can tell you it's been a game changer for me. My anxiety, man, is nowhere near what it used to be. I was the kind of guy that woke up every morning, always just kind of, I won't say that I embraced every day, but I woke up and I was always just, I got this to do and that to do. Now it's like every night when I go to bed, I said, I already know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm not even thinking about how stressed I'm going to be. I'm just going to get things done because I'm not as stressed. So call 662-268-7601. You can speak to my lovely wife, and she will get you guys scheduled, get you more information, too, if you need it. She's a registered nurse, too, and got out of nursing but wanted to stay in health and wellness to kind of help people. I think it's a calling for people. But you can download the True Rest app, and you can schedule right there online. You don't even have to talk to anybody. And the cool thing is it pulls up availability. You can go ahead and pick a time and a spot and come on in. If you need more information, visit TrueRest.com. And while you're in town with us, let me encourage you to go over to Bulldog Burger Company. I mean, I love Bulldog Burger Company. I love them so much. And I don't just say it because they're an advertiser of ours. Guys, I was a Bulldog Burger customer before they joined us, and I love that place. I do. I love going in there. And there's so many times in life when you go get a meal or something, it's just kind of, it's just kind of old hat. Every time I go in there, I'm excited. And when I mentioned to the kids, which, when the kids move out, I gotta buy them dinner to see them. They're not running out here just to come pet the dogs or anything. They get an Amazon package, send it here, and they're like, hey, Daddy, do you mind bringing this to town? Okay, well, let's go eat then. All right, let me just meet you at Bulldog Burger Company. Of course, my youngest, Ian, works at Bulldog Burger Company. But, man, I love that place. I do. I love going in there because I know exactly what I'm going to get. I may not know exactly what I'm going to order, but I know the level of service that I'm going to get. I know the quality of the cuisine I'm going to get. The atmosphere is great. There are a few places in the United States that you can go and get the level of consistency you get at Bulldog Burger Company. 3 great locations to serve you: University Drive here in Star Vegas, Gloucester Street there in Tupelo, Lake Harbor Drive in the Ridge and Flowood area. Have the spring rolls as your appetizer. They will make you and everybody around you better looking. Simple as that. Simple as that. Find your own favorites. Again, if you're a newbie, start with the Bulldog. You can't go wrong getting Bulldog. I mean, you could eat a Bulldog the rest of your life and feel like your life was completely fulfilled, right? You could. But I like to venture out a little bit. Like to get the Freshman 15, the Bryant. So many good options. And they're about to do a little bit of a menu update too, so we'll keep you updated on that. And I can't wait for that, because every time they unveil a new product, I'm always thinking, I got to get in there and get that. Not just because I want to give you guys, an informed ad read or whatever. I want to be able to enjoy the new food. Yeah. And get that chocolate shake to go, perhaps that bread pudding. You need a palate cleanser. And maybe you don't want to do it right there at the table. But you'll save it later, put it in the fridge, and when you get up a little bit later and get those late night munchies, you'll have something absolutely divine to partake in. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet, M-E-A-T. All right, let's talk about this baseball game. We got off to a pretty good start here. And next thing you know, we had some struggles on the mound. And one of the things that I want to caution people about, number one, I love you, okay? And this is going to be some tough love for some of you. But I love you. But some of y'all make my head hurt. You do. You do. I've shared it before, and I'll share it again. Early inning social media posting should be avoided at all cost, because some people get so emotionally invested in the ball game. There's an ebb and flow in games more times than not. Doesn't matter if it's football, baseball, or basketball, but especially baseball. Baseball is a long, long game. And there are times you're going to get behind. And we got behind last night. We battled back. And listen, I get it. I thought to myself, it's the last thing we need, right? We had a great weekend series against LSU that we should have swept. And all of a sudden, there is some exuberance about baseball. There's a lot of people that were fence sitters that says, you know what, okay, all right, Steve, all right. I'm going to get off the fence and say, you know what, maybe, just maybe, they're better than I expect them to be. And you know what, that's the mature response. It's completely okay to say that. It's okay. You don't even have to say it. We don't need a public declaration of your fandom. You can just all of a sudden just get behind the Bulldogs. You don't have to explain your previous postings. None of that stuff. Let's just get behind the team. And so we get behind in that game, and I'm thinking this is the last thing in the world we needed. We've got an opening weekend win over LSU. We're now nationally ranked for the first time in 2 years. And we come out here and lay a turd against Memphis. Can't happen. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I wasn't worried. I wasn't overly concerned. A lot of ball game left, and I said, you know what? Midweek pitching, we'll get into that bullpen, and we'll be okay. That's precisely what happened. But there was a time there I'm thinking, you know what? We can ill afford to lose this ball game. Not just from a win-loss standpoint, but just from the psyche of the fan base. It's like you finally get some guys back and some ladies back and say, okay, listen, hey, let's just go ahead and get behind the team. This is Mississippi State after all. And then, you didn't want to have the whole Ben Howland effect. Right? Right? Because that's an NCAA team out there, right? It's phenomenal. My point being is, like with men's basketball under Ben Howland, like every time we'd get everybody back, we'd win a game, like, okay, let's get on board. Then we'd lose a game we shouldn't. And so that was the thing I thought about last night is our fan base doesn't deserve this, right? But Bulldogs get it together. And just so you guys know, it's going to be 2 weeks. 2 weeks before the Bulldogs are back at Duty Noble Field. And the Bulldogs now 16-6, 2-1 in the Southeastern Conference, 14-5 at home, 2-1 on neutral fields. And we're going to play our first ball games outside of the state of Mississippi beginning tomorrow. But before we get there, let's talk about Memphis. And then we'll spend a little time talking about A&M, and it's going to be basketball the rest of the way. But, pretty crazy start to this thing. Bradley Lofton back on the mound. And Another good outing for him. That's a piece for us. And I asked Simonis a little bit about that last night, just because it seems like in the last 2 years, we get to this point, we start losing arms. But now with Pico back and Bradley Lofton coming back, now you're starting to add some arms. And so it's not like we went out and signed a free agent, but a pretty good pitching staff is beginning to get some pieces back that could be very significant down the stretch. All right, top of one. Lofton goes 1, 2, 3 here. A couple of punch outs too, and I really thought he had that changeup working. For those of you that listen to the radio broadcast, and I got to hear a little bit of it yesterday in pregame, Ron Polk says Bradley Lofton has about as good a changeup as you're going to see. And this is a guy, when he's at full velo and full health, he can whip it in there from the left side at 95 miles an hour. That's ridiculous, man. Absolutely ridiculous. Then he can throw that changeup that tunnels through the same arm slot at like 78 miles an hour. That's just unfair. And that's one of the reasons that he had a first-round grade on him coming out of high school. You guys at this point have not seen the best of Bradley Lofton. The best is yet to come. That's a great thing for him and a great thing for Mississippi State. All right, bottom of one, State gets on the board. Amani Larry flies out, and then Dave Marchand singles back up the middle, and the pitcher just like he has his back turned, so he kind of waves his glove at it, and he hits it, and it rolls back toward the plate. Too much of the plate there if you're Cade Davis, but infield single, and then Dakota Jordan. Guys, he gets down in his count. It's 2-2, fouls a couple pitches off, and just kind of lifts one out there to right field. The ball's not even on the plate. Goes to show you how strong Dakota Jordan is. He didn't even get a full swing. He just kind of throws the bat at it, and it leaves the yard for his 11th home run of the year. That makes it 2-0. Hines follows with a single, and then Hyzak flies out and Downs pops up to the catcher. But 2-0, you think, hey, good start here with Lofton on the hill. We might go ahead and run away with this thing. Didn't work out quite that way. Memphis gets their first hit in the top of second. Then we get a strikeout. There's a stolen base. There's a double, and the run scores. And how significant is that, right? That stolen base really, really makes a difference there. It's a ground rule double from Compton. He is a product of Olive Branch, Mississippi. Been their best power hitter at Memphis. Really, really good player. He left and went to South Carolina last year and then had an injury, didn't play, comes back to Memphis to finish up. And he was as advertised last night. I was really impressed with him. All right, well, then we followed that ground rule double up with a strikeout look, and then there's a walk. We give up a single, and kind of some craziness happens here. And I don't know about the scoring. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know about the scoring here. They hit the ball. Davis hits it through Kohler. Guys, that's an E5. I disagree with the scoring. And the run's going to count either way. But he singles to left, and then we get ready to throw it back into third, and the ball gets loose. So it's basically 2 errors on the play. And we gift them 2 runs there. Those are the kinds of things. I mean, my pitcher's up there working, and we get a ground ball. And yes, it was not a routine ground ball. It had some pace to it. But you got to make that play, certainly. And maybe Kohler was a little bit elevated emotionally because he was playing, his former guys over there. I thought he had a tough ball game. But there's 2 runs there. It's 3-2. You're thinking, well, this sucks. And it did. All right, so we finally get out of it, and we get back on the in the dugout and back on the bats. And it's 3 consecutive grounds out, all to the shortstop. So nothing doing for State there in the second. Lofton settles down again. Really nice job here in the third. Gets a fly out, ground out, and a line out. And then State comes in, bottom of third. We tie it up here. Amani Larry flies out to left. And Dave Marchand hits his very first collegiate home run to tie the game at 3. It was amazing. Off the bat, I turned to Neiman. Is that thing going to get out of here? Next thing you know, it does. And Dave Marchand obviously is a fan favorite. He's a dirtbag. Man, I love that guy's game. It doesn't matter where you put him. He just plays at 100 miles an hour. We need a guy like that. That's a guy that needs baseball and loves baseball. And in Mississippi State, we love ball players that are truly committed to the sport. And I think Dave, in many respects, has kind of been a culture guy for us. Aaron Fitt over the weekend made the comment that he's kind of become like the Jake Mangum in many respects. Now, I don't know that he's going to hit the baseball quite as well as Jake, and he could. But as far as like being that guy, the engagement guy for 9 innings, it's Dave Marchand. We need that guy. There's a reason our fans love him, and it's because he loves baseball. All right, so we tied the game up there. DJ strikes out looking, and then Hines grounds out to third. But it's a tie ball game. You feeling okay? You are. We bring in Pico, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. We're all friends here. Man, when I saw Pico come rolling out of that bullpen, I kind of teared up a little bit. I did. I know what that kid has been through, and he's back basically 11 months, man. He's a little bit ahead of schedule, and give his surgeons and all the people involved with his physical rehabilitation a lot of credit, but more importantly, give him a lot of credit. That's a big piece for us, big left-handed piece, and could be very significant for us down the stretch. And the very first guy he faces, he gets down 2-0 and gives up a single through the left side. Then there's like a stolen base. He gets Compton to ground out to second. The runner goes to third, and you're kind of thinking here we're probably going to give up a run, and we do. Ground out to third, run scores, then there's a walk, and then it's a called stealing. And so we're out of the inning. So Pico's first appearance there, he gives up the inning, he gives up a run that inning, and I don't even care. I don't care. I'm just proud of this kid, and I'm proud of the fact that we've got him down the stretch, and it's going to be a great thing for Mississippi State baseball. Happy for Pico and the entire family. All right, bottom of 4. State has a chance here to get even, but we don't. Hyzak grounds out to third, and then Downs reaches on the throwing error there by the third baseman. Kohler flies out to left, and Chance walks. So we push that run to second, and then everybody moves up to second and third. You got 2 minutes scoring position, and Powell grounds out to short. A base hit right there, and of course you're not going to convert all these opportunities. And I know that situational hitting's kind of been the buzzword here as of late, and a lot of people don't understand what that means. A lot of times you just want a guy to do a job, right? Well, the situational hitting responsibility here is to just put a ball in play somewhere in the outfield and get those runs on. And we weren't able to do it. And that's not a criticism of Joe. I mean, that's just baseball as it is. But I think it's important to understand. There's a lot of times we get a few words or phrases in the baseball vernacular, and we just hammer them and hammer them and hammer them and not knowing what they mean. All right, top of 5, we bring in K.K. Clark. And before I get started here on this, K.K. Clark is going to do a good job for Mississippi State. His very first appearance, he was absolutely outstanding. Last night, he had trouble missing bats. I want to make sure we understand this. This is a freshman guy that is coming off Tommy John that he had in high school. Okay, he is a work in progress, and he is going to be a guy that pitches big innings for Mississippi State over the course of his career. Maybe he's not as good as his first inning. He's certainly better than what we saw last night. And so I don't want anybody to go off the rails here and start thinking K.K. Clark can help us. He absolutely can and will. He just had a bad outing last night, as it happens in baseball. So he comes in, gives up a single back up the middle. And one of the things, too, is some consistency here early as he was getting behind in counts, right? I mean, strike one's the most important pitch in baseball. He gets behind 1-0 to Davis, single up the middle. You get behind 1-0 to Marcy, single back up to left. Now there's runs at first and second. And then he gives up a home run. Actually got ahead of that hitter. But Seth Cox for the 3-run home run makes it a 7-3 ball game. And then Baskin singles to center field. And for those of you that watch Tiger King, how ironic is it that the Tigers have a player named Baskin? All right, so that's it for KK. And he gets out there. We bring in Colby Holcomb. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a little tired of the Colby Holcomb slander too. Okay, I'm just going to say it for what it is. I told you guys he was probably our best pitcher, most improved pitcher throughout the fall, and he was outstanding in spring. And then he has one bad outing, and it kind of goes south and carries over into the season. But he's had back-to-back really good relief appearances for Mississippi State. Matter of fact, he was your pitcher record last night. We also had to bring in Johnny Long for Joe Powell. Joe got hit on the backswing, and I could hear it all the way up at the press box. Granted, it's not a huge crowd last night. But, that's a pretty significant thing, and it's pretty much a mandatory substitution unless a guy just absolutely is okay because of concussion protocol. And so to get him out, you bring in Johnny Long, and wish Joe the best. I'm sure he'll be fine. He's a catcher. But we give up a single. Lengthy at bat here, too, for Holcomb. And for a while there, I just didn't think we could finish him. And Stewart wins the battle there. Give him some credit. You know, we get into a 2-2 situation, and he fouls off 4 pitches and finally lines one in the left, excuse me. And so then we get a ground out to third that moves the runners along, and they They challenge the call at first, and the challenge is upheld, right? It's confirmed out. And then Compton comes in again. The kid from Olive Branch comes in and then laces a double to right center, and that gets a couple runs home, makes it 9-3. Curtis gets a single, and then Holcomb's able to get the double play here. 6-3 double play. But after this, Colby really settled down. Really, really settled down. It's 9-3, and we need a hold here. And, of course, I go back and look at our message boards, and, we're ready to hang Colby Holcomb in effigy. It's like, oh, that's never going to work. I'm tired of this experiment. Guys, it's not an experiment. Colby Holcomb is a guy with pro potential. Colby Holcomb is a guy that turned down money to come play for Mississippi State because it was his dream to be a Diamond Dawg. He had a rough start to the year. Now he's put together 2 really good back-to-back opportunities in relief, and maybe that's his role for us. But the bottom line is this. Colby Holcomb's a talented player. Parker's just kind of figure out, how to manage that guy. Not everybody's the same. There's some people you go out there and you challenge them and get in their face a little bit and they'll answer the call. And there are other people that need that pat on the back to get that done. You can't coach everybody the same way. Didn't work that way. But whatever we're doing as of late is working with Colby Holcomb. All right, bottom of 5. And this is where things really get interesting, right? State's down 9-3. Man, this 5th inning took forever, didn't it? All right, Larry grounds out to third, and then Mershawn doubles down the left field line. Okay, okay, now we're going. Because you just start thinking, we need to put up a crooked number here. You don't have to get it all back this inning, but we need to kind of start climbing back in, right? Mershawn doubles, they walk DJ, and then Hines singles to center, loads the bases here. All right, so there's one down, and it was a crazy situation there. It was like a little, duck snort out there between, second base and the center field, and it drops, and DJ should have been there a little bit quicker. I don't know why he wasn't halfway there. But DJ beats it out. They challenge the play. And, again, Memphis loses their challenge. Bulldog opponents having a tough time with challenges here as of late. All right, so now bases are loaded. And they elect to make a change here and bring in the right-hander Garner in place of the left-hander Durham. Both those guys were broke. Durham was pretty good at times. But I can see how he could be a guy in their league that could be kind of difficult. You bring in Garner, who immediately walks Isaac on 4 pitches. So there's 1 run back. Now it's 9-4. And then Aaron Downs, who has been on fire as of late, lengthy at bat here, works the count full. You're thinking, okay, well, he's going to have an opportunity to walk. No. Now he singles to left, 2 runs scored. Now it's a 9-6 ball game. Then there's a wild pitch. Now you got runners at second, third. So you've got 2 guys in scoring position with 1 out. You think, we need to do a job. Kohler comes up, strikes out looking. That's not good situational hitting, right? Right there, because what I really need you to do is just put a ball in play, right? If I get a routine ground ball to second, I get a routine fly ball to right, we got to run home. You got to put the ball in play here. And it can't just be a pop-up. You got to put a ball in play. And so, again, we're going to give Loco a little bit of a break here because he was playing against his guys. And you know as well as I do, he really wanted that game. Maybe played a little bit tight. But now all of a sudden, Bryce Chance walks to load the bases again. And on that ball, it gets loose from the catcher. It's ruled a wild pitch. Instead of holding the guy at third, Isaac's able to score. Now it's a 9-7 game. Johnny Long comes in and on an 0-2 count, kind of a swing and bunt here. That seems to happen a lot with Johnny. And again, this is about, trying to do a job here, right? So Johnny gets it down, and the first baseman pulls up to try to field it. The pitcher also tries to field it. Nobody covers, and Johnny just runs by everybody to a wide open bag, and run scores, 9-8. Amani Larry comes up, and then he singles to right field, and it's a tie ball game. And then he goes to second on the wild pitch. They walk Mershawn. Bases loaded. And they hit DJ with a pitch. It's 10-9. State has come all the way back in 1 inning. And again, that's not you want to get as many runs as you can get in an inning. But you just needed to kind of chip away here. State gets it all back. All of it back here. And then Hines flies out to second. So State bats around in the inning and never look back from here. It's 10-9 State. Holcomb, really nice inning here in the 6th. He gets a strikeout. There's an error again at third with Kohler, and rather than freak out, Colby just kind of bared down and actually picks the runner off second. Just really kind of bad base running there. But good awareness by Colby. We get out of that, and then we get Seth Cox a strikeout swinging. The same guy that hit the home run earlier against K.K. Clark goes down swinging. 10-9 is the bottom of 6, and State adds on here. Hyzak opens up with a triple to right center. Off the bat, you're thinking that thing may get out. It comes off the wall. They didn't play it right. And stand-up triple for Hyzak, who has been absolutely outstanding as of late. And I love him hitting behind Hunter Hines. The hotter Hyzak gets, the better pitches Hines is going to see. All about constructing this offense, man. You got to find the right mix. And I've said it before, nothing against Bryce Chance, but Bryce did not provide adequate protection for Hunter Hines. Because Bryce can't really hurt you. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful. Bryce is more of a doubles hitter. Connor is a guy that can change a game for you. And yes, Bryce has had a couple home runs this year. That's not in any way being critical of him. But with the game on the line, and you need a big fly, you probably would rather face Bryce Chance than Connor Hyzak. And it's just a different skill set. It's a different build, right? So Hyzak gets a triple and down singles at the middle. We get the run home. You talk about good situational hitting. There it is. You got a runner at third. I got to get him home. Got to pull the ball and play. We do. Turns out to be a base hit. Run scores. Collerton grounds out to first. Downs takes second. No play to be made there. They tried. Chance flies that little short flare out there to right field, second base, and runs it down. They walk Johnny Long, and then Larry pops it to the shortstop. So State with one run in the inning on a pair of hits. And I love it when we go back-to-back, right? When you open the inning with a pair of hits, you feel like you're going to get a run home, and we did. All right, top of 7, Holcomb gets a ground out to short, a strikeout of Stewart, and then Seals grounds out to short. So 1-2-3 inning for Holcomb. Memphis is just trying to figure this thing out, trying to find some way to stem the bleeding here. Mershon reaches on a fielding error by the second baseman. Kind of a hard hopper out there to second, and he just couldn't make the play. Well, Mershon getting down the line, the margin of error is very, very thin. Jordan then singles through the left side. Mershon takes second. Hines flies out to center, and everybody tags and moves up. So now all of a sudden, again, you got runners at second and third with less than 2 outs. You got to have somebody do a job here. Connor Hyzak's like, I got it, guys. It's a home run to center field. 3-run shot makes it a 14-9 ball game. Because even though it was 11-9, you kind of forget it's a 2-run game. I mean, if it had been a 2-0 game, it'd been a lot more attention. But now you get some separation in this ball game thanks to Connor Hyzak. Downs goes down on strikes. Kohler walks here on 4 pitches, and a Chance doubles down the line. The run scores, makes it a 15-9 ball game. And Long hits a little nub route in front of the plate. They throw him down out at first. But again, State with 4 runs on 3 hits in the inning. You leave 1 there, but at this point, the game is over. 15-9. It's just a matter of what the final score is going to be. Top 8, big at bat here. And again, Compton had been a burr in the Bulldog saddle. And yes, there is some elevation in this game, some separation because of the 6 runs. And Holcomb gets him looking. Really, really good sequence there from Colby. He actually got behind 3-0 in this thing and worked his way back and gets a punch out. How many times last year would he just walk that kid? All right, Curtis lines out to right. We bring in Forsythe. Holcomb leaves to a really nice ovation from the smattering of fans who were there. And we need to get Logan Forsythe going, too. Sometimes we forget about him. This guy's got some pretty nasty stuff. He gets Dubose to ground out to second. And that's the end of the top of 8. Bottom 8, State continues to go here. Continues to get things going. Larry, infield single. Mershon flies out to center. They walk DJ again. It's going to be a lot of that. Hines strikes out swinging. Not a very productive at bat there, but it's part of it. We let Nolan Stevens come in and hit for Hyzak. And Larry goes to third on a pass ball. Jordan is still second. There's all this craziness on the base pass. And then Nolan Stevens doubles to right field. An absolute frozen rope out there into the corner. And 2-run score. And I'm with you guys. Nolan Stevens has got to play more. Now, the thing about it is there's so much going on right now. There's so many guys that are kind of getting hot, making contributions. Chris Simonos has some difficult decisions. But if we need a left-handed DH, it needs to be Nolan Stevens. And that's the thing you got to start thinking about, too. Like in these matchups when we know that and A&M is a team that is somewhat susceptible to left-handed pitching. So I suspect you're going to see Stevens maybe held when we throw a right-hander. We start a right-hander, which, maybe that's Nate Doan. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But you start the right-hander, they stack the order with lefties, and then you bring a lefty and shoot those guys up. But we don't know pitching matchups yet. We don't. We'll know sometime today. I'm told it's still kind of iffy on Nate. And if we don't get him back this week, we expect to have him back next week. So he's progressing. But Nolan Stevens is a dude. And, of course, you guys don't know a lot about him because he didn't play in the fall. And all of a sudden he comes out here and you see him. And it's so interesting, too, that I've heard the criticisms about Mississippi State's recruiting efforts. And from the same people, I've heard them talk about how great Dylan Cupp is, how great Dave Mershon is, how great Dakota Jordan is, how great Nolan Stevens is, how great Luke Dotson is, and Jackson McKenzie is going to be, and I wonder who recruited those guys. Just saying. All right, so Downs Falks here, and Kohler walks, and now the bases are loaded. We bring in the aforementioned Jackson McKenzie, and he pops up to the catcher. Good thing for them. We had an opportunity to walk it off there in the 8th, and that's kind of what I was hoping. This Jackson McKenzie just, find some green grass there in the outfield. We'll walk this thing off 19-9. I like 10-run rule in other teams. I don't like it when it happens to us. All right, top of 9. Steven Spalletta gets in and catches a little bit behind the plate there. And good for him. Michael O'Brien, of course, been going in sometimes late as a defensive replacement. He is one of our better defenders. And Memphis sends 3 pinch hitters up here. That's the white flag. That's the gentleman's way of handling things. In a ball game, it's over. You want to get some younger guys or some veteran guys in at bat. And the game's over. I mean, there's no point sitting up here trying to elongate this thing. And really, 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 really good effort here from Forsythe. We had a strikeout looking, a strikeout swinging, and then a routine fly out to center field. And that's your ball game. 17-9 Bulldogs. And again, in the 5th inning there, for a few minutes, there was some cause for concern. Then the Bulldog offense is like, hey, fans, just relax. I got you. We got you. And stay with 3 home runs in the ball game. Dakota Jordan. Bulldog fans, rodeo season is here. That's right, the Dixie National Rodeo. Get ready to roll, man. And I remember being a kid, that was like the biggest highlight for us. My grandmother would get us tickets every year. And me and my brother would wear our cowboy outfits. We'd put our boots on, have our chaps, our vest, and we'd go up there. And just in case one of the cowboys got a little bit scared to get on a horse or a bull, we were willing to do it. Yeah, for sure. Guys, boots aren't just for going out to a country western bar and doing a little boot scooting. Maybe you got a little Texas two-step in your game. Tecovas can make you look better than ever. Absolutely. And here's the deal, too. That's the thing, the versatility of Tecovas is you can wear them somewhere nice, or you can live life where you don't go gently. That's what Tecovas does for you. Yeah, it's a rugged, handsome boot. It's my favorite boot brand, and it should be yours, too. Be sure and check them out. Tecovas believes in Western for all people, and you can feel that when you go into their stores. When you walk in, you'll be greeted like family, offered a boot shine and a drink, and maybe even an adult beverage if you prefer. And you can get custom fitted for a new pair of Tecovas boots. You can get custom leather stamping or branding, whatever you need to make it feel somewhat individual. Look up your closest store at tecovas.com. But if you can't make it to a store, Tecovas delivers the most premium quality and most comfortable Western goods right to your door. Visit tecovas.com. That's TECOVAS.com. And you know what, partner? Point your toes west. Bulldog fans, many of us grew up in a time we didn't lock our doors. We didn't feel the need to. We didn't have a need to. But the world is a much different place today than it was when we were much younger. Surely you've seen your neighbors have these video doorbells and things of that nature. You can have the same peace of mind, but also the convenience that you grew up with our friends at Eufy. That's EUFY. Very, 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 very simple product here. Very easy to install, and you set it up with just a Phillips screwdriver. No drilling required, no power tools, anything like that. You get the keyless entry. You don't have to fumble around with the keys when you got your hands full. You never have to worry about your kids losing their keys. Or perhaps you've got a rental property and you worry about people passing that key around. You also don't have the anxiety of having this battery that goes down on you. Guys, You got 4 months of power here, and you get a low battery notification before it runs out so you can charge it back up. It's pretty simple. There's no monthly fee, unlike a lot of other brands that charge you that fee. You can have your recordings locally and never have to pay for storage. Eufy is also on standby for you 24/7, and you can get a worry-free experience with an 18-month warranty, all backed by our professional customer service team. Contact them anytime by telephone, email, or even live chat, which is awfully convenient. And here's the thing. There's just so much out there in the world these days. Wouldn't it be nice to know maybe who visited your door when you're out, or perhaps have the security of knowing that you've got video surveillance if anytime somebody comes to your door? Well, you absolutely can. Make sure that you look for Eufy Video Lock. That's visit EUFYofficial.com/video lock to see how you can gain complete control of your door. Today's podcast is brought to you by NerdWallet's Smart Money Podcast. What's the best way to help you and your finances thrive? The answer can be overwhelming with all the financial misinformation out there. Fortunately, you can turn to NerdWallet's objective finance journalists to set things straight and help you make smart decisions with your own money. The nerds have helped me get smarter about things like planning for my tax bill so I don't dread April every single year, managing finances with a partner without causing a breakup, putting away more money for retirement since I'm not going to do this podcast forever. Sorry, folks. And also boosting my credit score since good credit is like a real-life cheat code. Saving for an emergency fund because life is like a good movie. It loves a good plot twist. The nerds also explain the real impact that the latest financial headlines could have on your life. Weekly financial check-ins with Smart Money help you spend more time doing what matters and less time worrying about what doesn't. Let NerdWallet's trusted experts untangle today's web of financial misinformation. Listen to the NerdWallet's Smart Money Podcast on your favorite podcast app. Future you will thank you. Dave Mershon, Connor Isaac. But Bulldogs last night, again, what we're seeing and beginning to see is length in the order. There is some depth at the plate for these Bulldogs. Because more times than not, how many times have we talked about it here as of late, where you see almost every starter get a hit? Similar situation last night. Amani Larry gets a pair. Dave Mershon with 3. He comes up a triple short of the cycle. Dakota Jordan, 2 for 3. Of course, another big home run for him. His 11th. Hunter Hines, 2 for 6. Connor Isaac, a couple of hits for him. Nolan Stevens, a pinch hitter, comes in and gets 1. Aaron Downs, 2 for 5. He stays hot. Logan Kohler, the only Bulldog starter. Well, I guess that's not technically true. Logan Kohler goes 0 for 4. And again, that's against his old team. Bryce Chance goes 1 for 3. And then Joe Powell goes 0 for 2 and leaves the game, with the backswing concussion protocol deal. But Johnny Long comes in and gets a hit. So really every spot in the order, with the exception of, I guess, the 7-hole, you had some offensive production last night. And Kohler did get on base. Had a couple walks last night. So it wasn't like it was just a complete fade for him. But, a lot of extra base hits last night, man. I mean, 3 doubles, a triple, 3 home runs, a couple stolen bases. I guess technically one of those wasn't. But, good effort. And, again, pitching, Bradley Lofton, not as good as he was last week. 3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 3 runs, 2 of them earned, 4 Ks, 1 walk. But, again, I'm very excited about him. 52 pitches. We're just trying to stretch him out a little bit. Pico goes out there for an inning, gives up a hit and a run, had a walk. Just glad to see that kid back on the mound. And we've discussed KK. KK's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. Colby Holcomb, though, that's the story, the pitching last night. 3 2/3 of an inning, 3 hits, allows 1 run, 4 strikeouts, 0 walks. 0. And he is your winning pitcher. Logan Forsythe goes 1 1/3. No hits, no runs, no walks, 2 strikeouts. So outside of a little thing early, we're fine. Bulldog bullpen on the back end did a good job last night. Really did a good job. The final 5 innings of that ball game, there just wasn't much going offensively for Memphis. And again, Memphis, listen, they're 11 and 12. We're not going to sit here and hype them up like they're some great team, but they got some guys that can swing it out there for sure. For sure they do. All right, real quickly, let's take a quick look at Texas A&M. I know you guys are excited about this Texas A&M team, and then we'll get to basketball. But huge series coming up. You know, A&M was previously undefeated, and they went to Florida and lost 2 out of 3. Yeah, it's true. It's interesting that Bulldogs' next 2 opponents play each other. Give us some advanced scouting on them. But, guys, the Aggies are 18-2. 1-2 in the conference, of course. They're undefeated at home, 13-0. They hadn't played a lot of good teams at home, though. 2-2 away and 3-0 on a neutral diamond. Let me run it down for you real quick. They sweep the first series of the year against McNeese State, as they should. They play UIW, that's Incarnate Word, and beat them 9-3 in a midweek game. They get Wagner 17-2, and then 2-0 and 21-2. And everybody looks at these numbers and think, oh my gosh, look how these runs are scoring. Guys, do you have any idea who Texas A&M has played? Do you? I mean, honestly. That's what happens. We're only acutely aware of what happens with us, you know. We don't always pay attention to what's going on with everybody. But this Wagner team, Wagner College, did you know that Wagner was even a team before now? They're 8-12. And the good thing about that is they've won their last 4, right? They were 4-12 at one point, and then swept a weekend series against Coppin State, and they went into midweek last night. That's not a good team. Then A&M 10-run rolls Lamar, and then they get Arizona State. They play in this Globe Life series, and they win all 3 of those games. And these are the things you look at and say, okay, all right, decent. They get Arizona State twice, and they get USC once. But again, maybe we should start keeping a cumulative record, right, of our opponents' non-conference scheduling. Maybe we should. Maybe that's a new feature we can run next year. I don't know. They get Texas. They play at Texas, and they beat them 9-12, and everybody's like, wow, what a loud win. Guys, Texas is 12-8. Had to come from behind last night to beat Air Force in 10 innings. This Texas team has not lived up to the hype. Then A&M takes down Texas Southern. They get Rhode Island down at Bluebell Park, and again, some gaudy scores there. Do you know what Rhode Island baseball's done this year? Let's find out together, shall we? Because again, I read all these things. There's a lot of people out there. I'm almost ready to start having a segment on the show called Bad Baseball Takes, and we just address it. And I'll give you one. I won't tell you who it came from. I'll give you one after we get done previewing this. But URI, a team that we've played in NCAA basketball before, they're 4-12 in baseball. 4-12. They get Sam Houston State, which is a solid mid-major, and then they go to Florida. And they get beat 8-6. They win 10-6 and get beat 4-2. All those games are competitive, but Florida's pitching has left a lot to be desired. Now, A&M will be in action tonight against Prairie View A&M. It's kind of weird to see an unconference game played the day before an SEC series, because now you got to play 4 days in a row. Now, granted, 3 of these games are in the evening. They'll start today at 4 p.m., but it is rather interesting. They're not going to use any big arms tonight. They'll smash Prairie View. But I go back and say this. This Texas A&M non-conference schedule is not good. Now, of course, the self-loathing Mississippi State fans are going to say, but Steve, ours isn't that good. Ours is better than theirs. I mean, the only reason theirs stands out is because they went to the Globe Life Series. We've been there before, too. Maybe you remember, too, we had Arizona State come in here last year, and we took 2 out of 3 from them. Arizona State hadn't been good the last few years. You know, and Arizona State's one of the top 15 baseball programs in the history of college athletics. It's true. And so on paper, that looks really good. It's like, hey, well, Arizona State's won national championships before. This will be good. Guys, Arizona State's 10-10. Are you with me now? Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like we only become so acutely aware of what happens with us, and we see everybody else, hey, well, they're undefeated. Well, they should be. They should be when you're playing the Texas School of the Deaf and Blind. Yeah, they should be. It's not like it's the Mississippi School of Math and Sciences trotting out there. I mean, come on. It's so interesting to me. It's like as we get so caught up here, and they said, but Steve, they beat USC. They did. And so did 13 other teams. Yeah, how about that? They're 7-13. They're 7-13. And so, again, I share that there's a lot of smoke and mirrors with this Texas A&M schedule. They may go out there and kill us. They may. But I'm not sold on this team. They got a couple guys that can swing it, but they have not really played anybody. And, again, the best win they have is over Texas, who's 12-8. Let that sink in for a second. I'm expected to take the series. I don't think we win it. I'm expected to take the series. And if we do, Katie barred the door. Because you start thinking about this. We talked about it before. The first 3 series are going to be real booger-bears, right? And I was telling everybody, the worst thing we can do is go worse than 3-6. We got to get a game, got to avoid getting swept. Go 3-6, and you got to find 11 along the way. Well, we would beat LSU. And all of a sudden you start thinking, hey, if we can just get a split between A&M and Florida, man, that makes us 5-4 after probably the most difficult part of our schedule. And then you got to find 9 more SEC wins the rest of the way to get in the tournament? You kidding me? Of course. And that makes this all the more significant. Let's say you get 2 at A&M, and I expect us to do so. Well, now all of a sudden, you're 4-2 when many people expect it to be 2-4. So now you're 2 games ahead of schedule. And so now all of a sudden with 4, now you got to find 10, and you got all these other weekends left to go. Got to keep playing ball, for sure. Real quickly, let's take a look at inside the numbers for the Aggies. And we'll do top 10 to get to basketball. Top 10 lists will be quick today, I promise. Again, we've had a submission today. But, looking at this A&M team, I mean, it's like, it is so interesting. How do you even really gauge it? Those are ones of the things that I think about. How do you even gauge it when you look at the quality of competition? We talk about it all the time on the show. You don't know until you get about 3 weekends into SEC play what you have. You really don't know. You think you know, but you don't know. You don't learn anything in non-conference. It's like non-conference basketball. Unless you really go play some other Power 5 teams, some teams that are expected to make the tournament. That's the thing with all of this with baseball. It's so interesting to me. And I wish A&M would just make it easier for us to just find what we need. Maybe it's just me. There it is. All right, so looking at it's 2024 baseball statistics for Texas A&M. And again, I expect to take 2 out of 3. I do. And Mike Nemeth will have his preview today. Braden Montgomery's leading the team. I know that's salt in the Bulldog wound there. He's got 9 home runs, hitting .368. And he's going to be fired up to play us. Jackson Appel hitting .362. He was the guy last year kind of up and down in the series against us. Jace Laviolette absolutely murdered us last year. And he's already got 10 tanks this year too. So you look at that, Braden and Laviolette, and you realize, hey, they got some dudes in here who can swing it. But there's not a ton of depth in this order. And I think that's going to be exposed as we get deeper in the SEC play. I think the longer we get into play, you're going to realize that. Now, what's interesting, too, about playing A&M is nobody's really tested them on the base paths. Only 9 stolen base attempts against Texas A&M. That just jumps off the page to me. That tells me there's a lot of respect for how A&M is holding runners and how the catchers are able to make the throw down. Opponents are 5 of 9. A&M's 20 of 25 in stolen base opportunities. But it's very interesting to me that you don't see more people, and we do want to run it a little bit. We're not crazy out there with it, but we will run the bases a little bit. But that's something to really watch as we get into this thing. But this is an offense that's hitting .304. And again, a lot of that's against inferior competition. This is going to really be the first real test for A&M at home all year. They were tested last week against Florida. It didn't work out quite as well. And looking back at last week's numbers for them against Florida, you look at all this and you begin to wonder, okay, so what happened to their big dogs, right? Last week against Florida, Jace Laviolette was 3 of 11 with 1 home run, and that was his only RBI on the weekend. Now, when you've got protection behind those guys, well, then all of a sudden that they'll just pitch around you. Braden Montgomery last weekend against Florida, he goes 3 for 14. He hit 214 for the weekend, had a couple tanks, and 4 RBI. Outside of that, just one other hit. So just hitting 214, right? Jackson Appel, a guy we talked about, was kind of up and down in the series against us. He hit 500 last week. He was 4 for 8. He's not a full-time player for them, but that triple and a home run. But very interesting, when you get into SEC play, as a team, they hit 218, and Florida hit 301 against them. And Florida is a team that has really struggled on the mound this year. So again, that kind of just, to me, it suggests that this series is there for the taking. Now, of course, A&M is going to come out both barrels blazing for sure. But the reality of it is that this is a team that we are capable of beating. We should have beat them last year. We just ran out of pitching. But looking at their pitching numbers this year, Evan Oshback's been really good for them in relief. I'm sure we'll see him at some point. He's got 20.2 innings pitched, allowed just 14 hits and 2 runs. 27 strikeouts against 4 walks. Justin Lampkin's a guy that's been really good for them also. He's a starter. Ryan Prager, I'm sure we'll see him. I mean, you start running the numbers here, you can find that they've got a lot of arms. ERA is just 2.65. And again, against that non-conference schedule, you'd expect that, especially with so many abbreviated ball games. But looking at last week's numbers as a staff against Florida, ERA is 6.48. Yeah, a little different deal, right? 6.48. They used 12 pitchers, and I guess they didn't use 12. They had 12 appearances. They used a couple guys twice. But 25 innings pitched, they allowed 31 hits. That's over a hit per inning, and allowed 18 runs. 28 strikeouts against 10 walks, so right there at 3-1, but somewhat susceptible to the extra base hit. 8 doubles and 8 home runs. And a batting average of 301 against. Yeah. He also had 5 hit by pitches. So you start running this thing down and you begin to realize, too, this A&M team looks great on paper until you begin to kind of dig into the numbers here. Then you kind of realize, you know what, maybe they're not quite as good as their record indicates. And again, I expect Mississippi State to go in there and take the series. All right, next segment of the show brought to you by closewithblair.com. That's CLOSE with Blair, BLAIR.com. Blair is my friend, your friend, our collective friend in the mortgage industry. Blair's the guy that knows how to get things done. Thus the name closewithblair.com. Coffee is for closers. And Blair gets more than his share because he gets his clients to the closing table and many others can't. Simple as that. Whether you're looking to get a game day condo, perhaps get a mortgage for the very first time, maybe you're just starting out in life. Maybe you're getting young, getting married. I don't know. Maybe you want to buy a game day condo. I don't know your needs. But Blair Chandler can get it done for you. Give Blair a text or call today at 601-500-2344 and get his 23 years of mortgage lending experience to work for you. Yeah, simple as that. Be sure and let him know you heard about him through us. Blair's a guy that is a season ticket holder to Mississippi State sporting events in multiple sports, has a place here in town. We're hopeful that his son Finn becomes a Bulldog baseball prospect at some point. That's my homeboy, Finn. But thanks as always to Blair and all the fine folks at closewithblair.com. Top 1% close ratio in the country back-to-back-to-back years. Recently made the move to Priority One Mortgage, but the same level of service and experience goes with him wherever he goes. All right, I told you guys we have a special request and a special submission today. I will not identify the person because I think there's a little something to this. Our submission comes from parts unknown here in the great state of Mississippi. I know exactly where she is. But apparently she's got a bit of a crush on Zach Bryan. You guys know Zach Bryan, I'm sure. Kind of a big deal out there. And apparently it's a bit of a, it's an issue. Maybe it is. But so she made a comment, I haven't heard you do, Zach Bryan. So here's my submission. And I do know Zach Bryan. I'm not the biggest fan, but I do like his music. I think he has a voice that is very haunting in many respects, and he writes very relatable music. And so she sends me her top 10. We're going to go with it exactly as it's submitted. All right, number 10, a very interesting song. Number 10 is East Side of Sorrow. It talks about Vietnam and things like that. It's really more of a song of encouragement. Like you see the title and you think, well, this has got to be one of those depressive songs. It's going to put me in a bad mood. But no, not really the case. It's basically guys crying out to God and say, God, where are you? Where are you going to find me? On the east side of sorrow, you got to keep kind of pushing through there. Yeah, so that's number 10 for you. Number 9 is all these people continue to message me. I'm not nearly disappointed. All right, number 9, Motorcycle Drive-By. Kind of stands, on its own. And again, it's another one of those songs, too, where you can kind of hear the haunting quality in the vocal performance. Number 8 is Spotless. How about that one? You know it? If you don't, you should. A lot of relationship type stuff in the Zach Bryan catalog. Number 7 is Hey Driver. And it's another one of these songs, too, that it's very relatable, right? There's a lot going on in life, and sometimes we just need to get away, right? And it's one of those literal and figurative type songs. I guess there's some metaphorical sense to all of it, too. All right, number 6 on our list was probably my gateway song into the Zach Bryan catalog. It's Something in the Orange. And many of you would probably have this number 1. If I was just putting a list together blind, that's probably what I would do too. But after taking some time to listen to all this, I said, you know what? I kind of like where this one is positioned. And Something in the Orange, of course, is about sunsets, Something in the Orange tells me you're never coming home. It's true. All right, number 5, if she wants a cowboy, she may not want me. Okay, there's a lot of folks out there that you love your Western wear. A lot of you guys out there all hat and no cattle. But if she wants a cowboy, it's kind of fitting, considering the submission. But nifty little song. The writing's very creative. I think you'll dig that one. Number 4 is I Remember Everything. Now that's a duet. And it's another one of those things, too. It's about, how life works. I'm the kind of person, too, like I may forgive, but I never forget. You know what I'm saying? It's like I learned from all that stuff. And, there's a little part of all this in all of us, right? Sometimes you just got to let things go. And I, as an adult, I have become better at that, just letting things go. But I never forget a person that's wronged me. Ever. 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 I may not always act on it, but I never, ever, ever forget. All right, number 3, I really dig this song. I do. It's Oklahoma Smoke Show. And, it talks about being around Tulsa, and I got friends out there in that neck of the woods. But it's another one of those great songs that's just very relatable. It's very, 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 very poignant in that respect. But, we all have our tastes and our preferences, in the people that we pursue romantically. We do. Not a handful of Mississippi smoke shows, too. Number 2 on our list is Revival. Another good one, too. This one is one of those songs, too, that just kind of makes you feel good. That's one thing about music. There's a song for every mood. And I like the diversity in the Zach Bryan catalog. I really do. There's some songs in there that are kind of that lover's lament stuff, and there's other songs of encouragement. I really dig this one a lot. And number 1, though, I like this one, too. It's a song that makes me think. It's Flying or Crying. Yeah, Flying or Crying is number 1. And I could really make an argument for that anyway. Now, after listening to some of this stuff and getting a little deeper in the catalog, I think lyrically it's one of the better songs that he's had. There's some poetry in this song. And it's really a song about, kind of coming of age in many respects. And, it's like the little part here where he says, until we all remember who it was when we were younger, before the world took our pride. We were walking in straight lines trying to find out who's good to drive. That's amazing. It absolutely is. And really, it's just about kind of growing up. And it's like, when you didn't have a care in the world, and this song's a few years old, but I think it's one of those ones that you just look at and you feel like, hey, this is a special kind of song. And there's one last little part here I wanted to share with you. Don't stop running, boy, but don't be naive, because the world will burn and break you, worse than hearts like ours believe. It's true. Don't stop dancing, girl, till it feels right, because we'll be flying or crying by the end of the night. It's just absolutely amazing poetry set to music. There's just so much about this that I think is very relatable to everybody. That's the thing when you're young and you think you're going to change the world and everything's going to be great and you're going to get married and it's just going to be happily ever after and you're going to have that house, the white picket fence, and you're going to be immune from life's problems. You think, hey, I'm going to get married and this person's going to love me forever and always protect me and have my back, and we're going to have kids and they're going to have grandkids, and we're going to have the big house out here on the hill, and everything is just going to be all hunky-dory. And I can just sit here and tell you that's just not true for most people. No matter what you see on Facebook and Instagram, right? We all have a struggle. And there are so many people out there that have a struggle that nobody even knows about. It's one of the things, I heard somebody say that in a meeting one day, an AA meeting, is that, you pass those people and it's like somebody's having, they're having a tough time and maybe they're hiding it well. And so it's important that you show some kindness because you never know what they're dealing with. You never know. It's so easy to get all judgy, right? It's like I saw a meme just yesterday and somebody says, there needs to be more kindness in the world. And it says, me behind the wheel, I hate everybody, right? And it's a kind of a silly and oversimplification of things, but there's some truth in all that. But I can tell you that life is wonderful. Life is beautiful. It absolutely is. But it's also a very messy undertaking. There's a lot of people out there that, they feel trapped in life. It's true. And that's what happens sometimes. You get under the burden of the mortgage and raising kids and things like that and get caught up just kind of raising kids and paying bills, and you think there's got to be more to life, and there is. There is. But sometimes you have those phases in life where you've got to put what you want aside for a little while. You got to put a pin in all that and say, you know what? I got to be a grown-up here, and I got to take care of this. It's not forever. And that's one thing that I can assure you in life. No matter where you go, who you are, and how old you are, no matter what challenges you've had in life, it won't always be this way. Good, bad, or indifferent, it won't always be this way. I heard a guy say years ago, he said, you get up day to day and you just work and nothing ever changes, but then at the end of the year you look back and everything's different. Even you're different. And so I share that with you because, number one, I absolutely appreciate the submission, and I do like the order in which these songs were arranged. And I hope we don't have a detective out here that gets this young lady in trouble because apparently she's got a crush on this guy, and she can't even listen to the music around her husband because he's so I don't know. Maybe it's just a playful thing, but you know my point. But the reality of life is life, right? And none of us are going to get out alive. And one of the things my dad used to say, and I've used it so many times, people think it's my own, but it's not. It's his. Life is short and death is certain. It's true. We go through all this, and I've told you guys before, I used to have this crippling fear that one day I would lay on my deathbed, having never written a book. Felt it was a bit of a manifest destiny for me to have to do that. It was just like something in me that I had to go out and do that. And I'm working on book number 7. That's not to praise me, but I don't want you to have those same fears on your deathbed and say, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done that. When I lay on my deathbed, whenever that is, and I hope it's years from now, surrounded by people that love me, or I may end up dying on the side of the road. I don't know. But I know this. Whenever I take that last breath, I'm not going to look back and say, you know what? I wish I would have done this. Or I wish I would have taken more chances. Or I wish I would have danced more. Or I wish I would have traveled more and packed the car more. I'm not going to live that way. I'm not going to feel that way. I get out and go. I get out and live. And I encourage you to do the same thing. Live your life. Don't live somebody else's life. Period. And you don't have to put up this whole Facebook facade that everything's so hunky-dory. I understand people do that a lot of times because they just don't want to deal with any questions. Like, I'm going to get up here and just kind of play the role so everybody thinks that I'm doing okay. It's okay not to be okay. And sometimes you make decisions, and you got to live with those decisions. There are other times, though, you can say, you know what? I made this decision. It was for me at the right time. But that time may pass. It's important to understand. Life is long. It's a lot longer than college baseball games. And as you see, in last night's 9 innings, things can change about halfway through. All right, next segment of the show brought to you by Campus Bookmart, a Starkvillian institution. Campus Bookmart. Nobody does a better job than providing you with Mississippi State merchandise than them. A lot of people try, but nobody has the selection that Campus Bookmart does. And there's so much new baseball wear out there. And, of course, there's going to be some NCAA tournament shirts and things like that. You need to update the wardrobe with some fresh threads. Go by and see their smiling faces next time you're in town, or visit them on the World Wide Web, courtesy of Al Gore's Internet, at campusbookmart.net. You can peruse their fine selections there. Miss Kathy Brown does an amazing job getting you guys the newest and coolest stuff. Yeah. And I always encourage you out-of-staters to support a Starkville business. You know, it's so easy to go to one of these bigger companies, and I'm going to get a new Mississippi State shirt. You know what? And you might have helped their stock price a little bit. But when you support a Starkville business, that's a meal for them. You know what I'm saying? And these are the people you really care about. You say, well, it's too bad I just want my merch. It's true. But if you can get better merch and support Starkville at the same time, isn't that the way to go? Yeah, it absolutely is. And I'm going to give you some incentive to do so. Go to campusbookmart.net, order your merchandise, and promo code BSR. For all orders over $75, get you free shipping. Yeah, how about that? Yeah, free shipping on all orders over $75. Promo code BSR, which stands for Beautiful Steve Robertson. Thanks, as always, to our friends at Campus Bookmart. Okay, let's take a quick look ahead here at Michigan State basketball. There's a lot of people. Did you watch that Virginia game last night? Was that not painful? Like, I watched the end of it. You know, we had to cover baseball. By the time I got home, I was seeing all this traffic on social media about how bad that game was. Guys, it was brutal. And then somebody kind of juxtaposed the video how surprised they were that they made the tournament. And I think you saw last night that's probably the case. It was a surprise, and they probably shouldn't have made it. But let's take a quick look back at the Michigan State season that was. Probably one that most people were disappointed with. You know, that's part of the deal. I think we feel like we're ascending, and I think perhaps that they feel like they are not. And so that's an important aspect of this too. I think we're really excited to be there. I think that they are probably surprised to be there. Again, we mentioned this earlier on the Monday show. 19-14 overall, and then 10-10 within their league. You know, we only won 8 league games, so we're very much contemporaries in that respect. But looking back here, guys, they opened up. They played Tennessee in an exhibition game to raise money for the Maui Relief Fund, and they only lost by 1. Now, granted, we beat Tennessee twice. They can't make that claim. But obviously, they're a team that's got some ability. They open up in the real season opener, and they lose at home to James Madison by 3. Right out of the gate, fans are upset. They bounce back and beat Southern Indiana 74-51. They lose to Duke in the United Center in the Champions Classic up there by 9 points. And Duke, of course, was playing pretty well at the time. They blast Butler by 20. And they get Alcorn State, our friends from down the road at Lorman, and get them 81-49. They take on a very, very good Arizona team. They hang in there for a while but lose by 6. That was played out in Palm Springs, California. They get Georgia Southern, defeated Jared Bankos, give it a game for a while but lose 86-55. They lose to Wisconsin. And again, you start seeing all these Power 5 teams pop up. They're struggling against those teams. They lose to Wisconsin 70-57. They go to Nebraska, get beat 77-70. They beat Baylor in Detroit, Michigan, at the Little Caesars Arena. At the time, Baylor was ranked 6th. They get them 88-64. It wasn't really a contest. They get Oakland 79-62. Then they take down Stony Brook, who's better known for baseball. Better known for baseball. Get those guys 99-55. Indiana State Sycamores, the home of Larry Bird, they get those guys by a dozen. Start getting a Big Ten play here, regular Big Ten play. They blast Penn State, then they lose to Northwestern, then lose at Illinois in Champaign, 71-68. They blast Rutgers. They get Minnesota by 10. They go on the road and get a big win at Maryland. It was big for them at the time because they needed some road wins. They get them by 2. They go to Wisconsin, tough, 81-66 final there. They get Michigan at home, 81-62. And then Michigan, of course, has fired Juwan Howard. It's done. Michigan basketball finished. They sweep Maryland. Maryland comes back to East Lansing. They get them 63-54. And then at Minnesota, they drop that game by 3. Illinois, get the revenge game against them at home, 88-80. It's kind of how these home and homes work, right? You typically win on your home floor. They go to Penn State, though, and win out there 80-72. They go to Michigan to sweep the series with them. And again, this isn't a great Michigan State team. I'm sure that was just salt in the wound to Wolverine fans. They lose to Iowa, 78-71. Then they lose to Ohio State. Then they lose to Purdue. Purdue was ranked second at the time. That's a 3-game losing streak. They snap that with a win over Northwestern and then lose to Indiana, 65-64 in Bloomington. All right, in the Big Ten tournament, they get another win over Minnesota and then lose to Purdue by 5. And so all those games in the Minneapolis-Minnesota neutral site game, they were competitive. But again, you look at this, down the stretch, they have not been good. Not been good at all. They've won 2 of the last 4, and you stretch that out a little bit, it's 2 of the last 7. They're 5-5 in the last 10, but lost 2 of the last 7. Again, I expect to win this game, and I'll be disappointed if we don't. I really want to watch us play against North Carolina because North Carolina basically has a flyer coming in. That's just the reality of all that. But Michigan State this year, averaging 73.1 points a game, giving up right at 66. Shooting has been okay, 46%. Opponents shooting just 41%. 3-point baskets, right at 36% for the Spartans, holding opponents to right at 33%. But, hey, we're that kind of team, too. We're going to let you shoot it. We're going to close out on you and force it because we know it's a low percentage shot. Anything we can do to alter the shot a little bit, we believe leads to a defensive rebound for us. They've been pretty good at the free throw line. Their opponents have been a little bit better, but right at 70%. Rebounding has been decent, but probably not what they had hoped. I mean, they're basically +1 on the season, pulling down 34.6 boards a game, and their opponents pulling down 33.8. So again, right at 1 board per game difference between the two. We have been a really good rebounding team, especially in conference play. So we need to find a way to see that continue. They're handing out 16.3 assists a game. They're allowing 12.5, committing 14.8. That's 14.8 turnovers per game, points off turnovers per game. They're forcing 9.8, but they're turning it over 12.5. So ball security, a big deal in this one. They had 238 steals. Their opponents have had 171. 128 blocks. They've allowed 104. So again, you see all this, and it just kind of looks out. You look at the numbers, and it's like, hey, this should probably be a team that's around 500 or slightly above, and they are. All right, Tyson Walker, that's the straw that stirs the drink, 18.2 points a game. He's a guy, too, that's attempted 158 three-point baskets. This is going to be an interesting game for the guards. It really is. Very interesting. Guard play is going to be big. I think where we kind of pull away here is in the post. I really do. But Tyson Walker is a graduate student by way of Westbury, New York. The guy can really play. He could. You got Malik Hall, of course, another guy that they all shoot it with some level of proficiency from beyond the arc. They do stretch you out and make you defend out there. But Jaden Akins with the most three-point attempts on the year, just 6 ahead of Tyson Walker with 164. But again, this is a team. If we go out there and just kind of show up and go through the motions, we're going to get beat. And this is a team, if they get hot, they could beat us substantially. The flip side of it is it could be the same way for Mississippi State. If they don't get out and defend the perimeter, if they can't rebound, the State's going to win this game double digits or better. I know the pick'em. It's basically a pick'em game right now. I know at one point I saw that Michigan State was a slight favorite, and I've seen some other reports that State's going to be a slight favorite. The bottom line is this: it's just 2 very equal teams, very comparable in their production. But State should do a better job in the post, and that's got to be the difference for us. We've got to be able to rebound and do a good job in the post down there. Excited to see the game. Of course, it's 11 a.m. tip. You need to be aware of that when you're working. You need to put up your little screen to protect yourself as you get into all this stuff. But again, a team that we expect to beat. But if it gets down to a 2-minute thing with Tom Izzo, it's going to be tough. We're going to have to really, really, really have some good individual efforts to win this game. But again, I'm going to pick State to win it. Probably maybe 6 to 7 points. I think it'll be a very entertaining game. One of the most important things for us is to get off to a good start. You start chasing the game, dig yourself a bit of a hole. We've been very good defensively in the second half, but we've got to make sure that this game is either State's ahead or we're right around even as we go into the break. Because you guys have seen it all year long. Chris Jans does a great job with the halftime adjustments. We really ratchet things up defensively. And with DJ Jeffries now healthy, of course, I think that he's a guy that can give their guards some real problems. And you got to make them give it up. And how they defend Josh Hubbard will be rather interesting, too. A lot of these offensive guards don't play well on the defensive side. It's true. It's true. So it'll be interesting to see what Hub can do and get off. I think you got to get him some early looks and hopefully let him find a rhythm early in the ball game. And then again, kind of stretch the defense a little bit and give us an opportunity for us to get the ball down to Tolu. And Tolu's going to have to be big in this ball game. He's the best post player on either team. Has the most ability. But at times, he has played soft around the rim. We need him to really be aggressive, go up with some authority. Don't try to anticipate contact or initiate contact and just throw up a shot that falls long and then you don't get a call and it's an empty possession. Just go up, dunk the basketball, expect contact. If you get fouled, then it's an and one. Let's not try to just generate an and one. Let's go ensure that we get a basket. And I think Tolu will stand up and play well. A very interesting SEC tournament for him. And I think him having a chance to play on this stage in a real NCAA tournament game. Of course, we had to play in game last year. But everything for Tolu, this is the final time, right? And so we need him to play big. We need the players around him to play big. But I think defensively, State is going to give Michigan State some real trouble in the half-court defense. I think our length is going to be a problem for them and our effort. We are a team that gets our hands up in the passing lanes. There's just not a lot of this basic entry-level pass stuff against Mississippi State. We will make you work for every inch on the court. And so, again, I'm going to take State in a close one. And so that should set up a matchup with North Carolina. It's almost very similar to the last time we went to Charlotte, right? We beat Stanford in the 8-9 game, and then we have to play Duke. And we outplayed Duke, and we didn't get calls late. That Sheldon Williams nonsense still infuriates me to no end. But North Carolina's got Wagner right behind us. They shall have no problem with them. And I think our game is going to be a little bit of a war. And so we're going to have to really get on the IVs and that sort of stuff because we're going to have to fight a lot harder to advance. Are we capable of beating North Carolina? I say yes. When you look at Tennessee and North Carolina, both similarly situated for that final number one, and we just beat Tennessee. It wasn't like, well, they beat them earlier in the year. We beat them twice, including in the SEC tournament when they were playing for a number one seed in the Big Dance. Yes, we are capable of beating North Carolina. I'm sure North Carolina is not happy to see us in there. They probably feel like, hey, this is unfair. We're a number one seed, and we're going to have to play Mississippi State or Tom Izzo in round two. I think Mississippi State has a better chance to beat North Carolina. But I'm not ready to pick that. I don't want, it bothers me so bad. But again, if we find a way to get out of this weekend and get to the Sweet 16, man, almost anything is possible. Of course, a good chance we'd meet Alabama down the road too, which hasn't been good for Mississippi State as of late, but I think Chris Jans is a guy too that kind of learns from every experience. But we'll see how things go. But keep your fingers crossed. It's an exciting time of the year. A lot of good things are going to happen over the course of the next few days. So let's hope for the best, and the Bulldogs can pull this thing out for us, for sure. All right, final segment of the show brought to you by the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. You need to check out the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. Like if you're one of those kinds of people that says, you know what, I'd love to be able to get everybody together under one roof. Let's go for a ball game weekend. Let's go for, a midweek adventure. Maybe you got some vacation time coming up and you're not sure what you want to do with it. Well, why not, hey, let's just kind of coordinate something and have a guy's trip or have a ladies' trip or maybe a cousin's trip. I don't know your needs, but I know this. They can be fulfilled by the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. Just Google Stark Vegas Clubhouse. And you'll have the opportunity at that point to peruse that fine property. Their Facebook page readily available to you. And you can book through multiple options. You can go through VRBO. You can go through Airbnb if you want. I don't know what your preference is. But if you book through the Evolve website, that's Evolve, and use promo code BSR10, I can save you 10% off your stay. Yeah, nobody else can offer you that. But we can offer that to you here. I love the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. I've been to the property multiple times. I had some friends that used it a while back for a midweek work trip. And it was cool for them because they had the communal areas to kind of work. And then everybody had their own rooms. They had a kitchen. So they went out and bought some groceries, kind of stocked things up with some adult beverages and also some hamburgers and things like that. And they got out by the fire pit and kind of just enjoyed just chilling a little bit. You can do the same thing. So if you're bringing a large group or you're thinking about it, rather than go get 5 hotel rooms and then have everybody kind of, fending for themselves, have everybody under one roof. What's a better idea than that? The Stark Vegas Clubhouse. And again, book through the Evolve website. BSR10 is your code. That huge back porch area. It's quiet. It's just 5 minutes away from the Mississippi State campus. And so, hey, you come out there, you can grill some steaks, go watch a ball game, come back and sit around the fire pit and have a beer and talk about the Bulldogs win. How nice would that be? There's no hotel that can offer you that. They can't. They also can't allow you or afford you, the communal part of this, right? So whether you're bringing your family, a work group, or just a group of friends to Starkville, you need to stay a couple nights, Stark Vegas Clubhouse is the way to go. Be sure and check them out. You'll be glad you did. All right, Mississippi State women back in action tomorrow night. About a week ago, we didn't think it was possible. We're told, hey, you know what? If we don't make the big dance, we're not going to play. And then we began to hear over the weekend that, no, they're getting this BIT thing. All the expenses are paid by the NCAA, and so here we are. The Georgia Tech ladies are just 17-15 overall, 7-11 in the ACC, 9-7 at home, 6-6 away, and 2-2 in neutral floors. Now, I understand there's going to be a lot of men's basketball being played. However, the ladies need you to turn out. So you can watch the men in the morning on TV and then head over to Humphrey Coliseum in the evening to cheer for the ladies. We'll have full coverage of both. But looking at their schedule here, again, it's, non-conference. You can't really tell what you have in a non-conference, but, they open up with a win over Coastal Carolina, then take down Furman. And those were not close games. They go to Rice and win by 3 on the road. They just nearly decimate Kennesaw State, 77-38. Their first loss came to Creighton way down in Cancun, Mexico. Had some good nights down there at La Boom. And some of you have probably been to Chili Willie's down there. You know what I'm talking about. And they take care of New Mexico, 66-55. They get into a little more competitive non-conference play. They play Florida. They lose by 10 in Atlanta. They go to Nebraska. They lose by 8 there. And then they take down Mercer by 13. They get Georgia State. They play at Georgia, and they win in Stegman Coliseum, 64-53. So things are you're feeling good, right? You get USC upstate, and all of a sudden life feels great. Next thing you know, you get into ACC play. You lose at Florida State, 95-80. They beat Virginia. They win at Pitt. They beat Clemson, and you think the ship is righted. No, then they get beat by nearly 40 at Duke. They lose to North Carolina by 5. Beat Boston College. Lose to Virginia Tech. Lose to Florida State. Lose to Notre Dame. That game was not competitive, 85-48. They beat Wake Forest on the road in Winston-Salem by 3. And then they go to Syracuse and get beat by 3. So it's been that kind of year. They lose at home to Miami by a couple. Miami is a team that came here to Humphrey Coliseum and beat us when Jessica Carter was out. They're going to play. They played at Clemson. They win there. They nearly pull off a major upset at NC State. At the time, the Wolfpack ranked 6th in the country. The game goes to overtime. NC State wins 86-85. They host Louisville, lose 80-62, and then lose to Wake Forest. And then they go to Miami and win down there, 71-66. In the ACC tournament, they beat Pitt, then lose to Duke, and now they'll play Mississippi State tonight. And so, hey, it's a Power 5 opponent. It's in Humphrey Coliseum, and it's a postseason that many weren't expecting to partake in this year. But let's take a quick look at, at the stats here. It's always interesting, when we play these Power 5 opponents, because, the recruiting process is so convoluted at times. You recruit a lot of the same players. But Tony Morgan leading the team with 15.6 points per game. Kara Dunn with 15.6 herself. Dunn more of a three-point shooter. They will shoot it from everywhere. Rusney August, I'm gonna butcher this. Augustinati, we'll try that. She leads the team with 197 three-point attempts. She's converted on 69 of those, so right at 35%. As a team, they're shooting about 30%. The teams that can stretch the floor have given us some trouble at times. So I won't be surprised if it ends up being a very competitive game tomorrow night at Humphrey Coliseum. But when you begin to work through this, there's not a lot of depth on this team. The starters play a ton of minutes. They've got a few, I guess 3 players that come off the bench and kind of give them a bit of a rest. But it's mainly a 5-lady operation for the most part. And the ladies that do come on the floor have not necessarily been very prolific shooters. But this is about us, right? If Mississippi State shows up and plays to its potential, they're going to win this basketball game. And if they go out there and play like they have in recent weeks, they're going to lose. It's that simple. And it's all about us and our own attitudes about playing. Are we going to be, as Mike Leach said, are we going to be the most excited to play? If we are the most excited to play, we're going to win this game going away. But if we go out there and just think, well, it's just another basketball game, it's going to be embarrassing for Mississippi State because we're going to lose to a team we shouldn't. That's not to say that Georgia Tech's not capable of keeping us honest, but the bottom line is this, is we are the better team. We should be in the NCAA tournament. And it's going to boil down to, hey, are we going to get over that? Are we going to get over the fact, are we going to pout? Because Georgia Tech knew they weren't going to be in it. We were hoping. We didn't expect to be, but we were hoping. So if we come out and we feel sorry for ourselves, it's going to be a short run in the postseason for the ladies. But I believe that we're going to come out and play well. I think we're going to be able to play well. That's my hope. And so, again, a lot to think about. A lot of rooting interest for Mississippi State here in the days ahead. As you guys are well aware, all the fun gets started again tomorrow morning when Mississippi State plays Michigan State. Now, in the middle of all this, we're going to be meeting with Jeff Lebby. And it'll be interesting to see how many media people are there, right? Because about half of the beat is in Charlotte. And, Justin's up there. I think Robbie's up there. Steph is up there. I think that's probably everybody. Ben was going to go. I don't know what happened. But anyway, I don't think Ben's going. But so about half the beat's going to be up there, and the other half's going to be here. I wonder if some people don't just decide to stay home tomorrow. Just work off the university video of Lebby speaking. I mean, that's possible. Certainly is. But, hey, we'll be there, and we'll have full coverage. And, of course, Justin will take care of you guys over on the basketball board, keep you updated with all the stuff. And then Thursday night, Georgia Tech and Mississippi State in the inaugural WBIT tournament. And State, of course, a host site for this. Got a chance, I believe, to host 3 games. I think that's right, if we win. Continue to win. And then, of course, 6:30 tomorrow night, Mississippi State versus Texas A&M. And we don't know yet if Nate Dahm is going to pitch or not. Short week, I don't know. I know he is progressing. If we don't have him back tonight, I do expect him back next Friday when we head down to Gainesville. So you've got a lot to think about and a lot to watch in the next 36 hours. A lot. And then we'll come back, of course, on Friday, and we'll recap everything that's happened. We'll talk about, of course, the progress that Mississippi State men's basketball and baseball have made, and the women. Hopefully we're previewing another game. Yeah, how about that? Hopefully we can kind of keep the busy season going. This is absolutely the busiest time of the year for us, even as big a team as we have at Gene's Page. I mean, of course, we can kind of get everything handled, but there's a lot to cover. And we will get the opportunity next week to observe some football practice. All practices are closed this week. We have 3 media opportunities, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Mississippi State assistant coaches are off limits for the media during camp. And that's probably a good thing, right? I mean, you say, Steve, it's just 10 minutes. Yeah, but they don't know a lot about their kids yet. They don't know how these kids are going to absorb things. So there's probably not a whole lot to say. So Jeff Lebby will be the voice for Mississippi State football. I appreciate it. I respect it. I get it. No problems at all with me. I'm happy that we got a lot of good things going on, a lot of good content opportunities for us. Of course, we're doing double-digit stories just about every day, and most of those are free. But you certainly should come be a member with us. But the reality of it is we've got a lot going on, and there's a lot to think about, a lot to cheer about. is here it is March 20th. And, the semester will be winding up here, what is it, 6-7 weeks, and then it's going to be over. I was looking at the baseball schedule today. We only have 6 midweek games left. You say, Steve, how's that possible? Well, it's just how it is. You get later in the year, you don't play as many. And I'm going to be seeing some old silver-haired Diamond Dawgs over in Birmingham next week. We get ready to play Sanford. So we'll go over there and take care of that. If you haven't done so, go to whenthebottomfalls.com, and you can get my latest book, When the Bottom Falls, which is really kind of the story of my life in many respects. It's a memoir. But it's mainly about recovery. It's not just about recovery. Some people say it's a love story, and there's all kind of other things in there. It's an underdog story. It's about growing up in South Mississippi, and how I've been able to get and stay clean and sober for over 32 years. And so, if you are somebody that struggles with that, or maybe you just like stories of redemption, maybe you're just a good reader, maybe you've got all my other books, you need this one too. You can get it at whenthebottomfalls.com. While you're there, all of my sports titles are there as well. That's Flim Flam, Stark Villains, Alpha Dogs, and Dogpile. And every Bulldog fan needs a copy of Dogpile, whether you read or not. So with Father's Day coming up, Mother's Day coming up, I would encourage you to consider some of those things. Maybe you have readers in your family or just Bulldog collectors. There's just a lot of people that told me I just buy them, put them in my Mississippi State room. And thank you for doing so. Update on the dude. I mean, I'm working through that. I think Chapter 5 is one of the better things I've ever written. It's a story that hadn't been told in over 100 years. It's a very important story about the State-Ole Miss rivalry. I don't know how I missed it, to be honest with you. Like, nobody's ever told me this story. And so I'm an inquisitive person. I'm nosy. So I always want to know, why didn't we play Ole Miss 1912, 13, and 14? Why didn't we play them? I'd heard some things, I'd read some things, and none of them were truly accurate. But I've been able to get to the bottom of that. That's going to be detailed out for you in Chapter 5 of the book. Excited for you all to read it. And I got to get going a little bit, too. I'll work on Chapter 6 this week, and trying to get a chapter a week done so we can have it all kind of done here by the end of May. And then we'll have the month of June to edit and, of course, get that bad boy produced for you and have it out for you before football season. Yeah, but it's a lot of work. It's been a very redeeming pursuit for me. I have enjoyed every second of it. I love research. I do. And so I spent a lot of time researching this. And because how do you tell the story of somebody's life that died before you were born? I mean, there's a lot of work to this. But I'm up for it. And I've been so incredibly grateful to the Noble family that have been so incredibly cooperative with me as I've worked through all this. And, of course, the bride reads this stuff before it ever gets to editing, and she tells me, I love reading the recaps of those old games. There's so many crazy things that happened in those games, really in the infancy of Mississippi State athletics, right? And so I enjoy telling those stories. It's important to me because you guys are the people that I care about, right? I'm trying to tell our story and using my talent and, of course, my agent to get that done for you. So be looking for that. I've put my heart and soul into every one of these books. It's hard for me to believe this is book number 7. It truly is. It truly, truly is. Come join us over at genespage.com. We are the Mississippi State affiliate for 247 Sports. Nobody going to give you better coverage of Mississippi State athletics than our team over at GenesPage. And I want to give a shout out to Nathan Purvis, who I hired a few months ago to be our graphics guy. There's a story behind that, and I'll save it for another day. But Nathan was interviewed today on WJTV, on statewide TV. How cool is that, right? You have a guy that does our graphics, and next thing you know, he's become a bit of a hit, over 1,000 followers now on Twitter. And so we do our game day graphics. Nathan does our commitment graphics and visit graphics and things like that. And really, it's about giving the kids in Mississippi something cool, right? With them not having to worry about it. It's a big deal. We want to add something to it. And, of course, ultimately, we want to help them announce their commitment. But we just wanted to do something super nice and super cool. And Nathan's done an amazing job for us. And I shared that 5-minute video segment, I guess it was live at 9 this morning, on my Twitter. And it's also on Gene's page on the football board, so you be sure and go check that out. But it's a super cool thing, man, to see Nathan get some recognition. So tip of the cap to Nathan Purvis, who's done an amazing job for us. And so glad to have him as a part of our team. And thank all of you, man, for what you've done. Every day that I wake up really under the cloak of gratitude in many respects. because I'm so incredibly grateful for each and every one of you to listen to the show, to subscribe to the website. And even if you're not a subscriber, you read our content, you interact with me on social media. We may not always agree, and that is perfectly okay. I don't hold grudges for that. But I know this. We all want the same things, and that is for Mississippi State to win. And I need everybody to get behind all of our sporting teams. And let's have a good end of the spring semester and hopefully have a chance to hang some banners in Humphrey Coliseum and maybe go chase another road to Omaha. How would that be? That'd be amazing. Let's not get the cart too far ahead of the horse. Let's just be excited about where we are and begin to kind of look ahead. But until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.